Well, today's episode is going to be a really fun one, but also some of you may be thinking I may be crazy enough to do this. As you know, since it's Thursday, we normally cover with Impact Wrestling. But this time, we're not going to be just doing Impact Wrestling. We even got, of course, more with New Japan Pro Wrestling involving the CMLL Fantastica Mania. We're in day 2. However, I will be also reviewing 3 shows in one day by none other than Japanese promotion Ganbare Pro. Yes, folks, 3 shows. That is insane. That's what I'm going to do. I decided I'm not going to miss this out because I love Ganbare Pro because they're a lot more different, has a different flair than any other promotion that I've ever watched. But also, I'll be doing some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with Ganbare Pro with one of the 3 shows they had in one day. And this also took place on Thursday on the 23rd of February. All 3 of them. This one is called Grindhouse. This one's at the the Basement Moonstar. I think that's what it is. But let's get started. They only had each of those shows has 4. Let's talk the first match. We have Munetatsu Nakamura taking on Ken Oka, the boss. I thought it was very interesting because, as you know, Nakamura, he is one of the young boys. He's still on a learning curve. If you actually pay attention very well. So it was a pretty good match, not to mention it was a very solid opener, but not the best. But it was, of course, Ken Oka with the flame spear that put away Nakamura to give him the W. Next up, we got tag team action in intergender tag match. We have Yoshiko Hasegawa teaming up with Shota to take on Yuri and Soma Takawa. Now it's interesting, as you know, Shota and Takawa were once a tag team known as Romance Dawn. I'm going to presume because of the telling of the story, I think Takawa was still pissed off that Shota just went to the U.S. to do an excursion, not thinking about Romance Dawn. So I thought this was a very interesting storytelling. But however, how was this going to be played out? I don't know. I mean, anything's possible. These two, both Yuri and Hasegawa, they're both on the same level. Now, keep in mind, Yuri is still like the new girl in the block, and so is Hasegawa, who's been on a hiatus. But in this case, it was Yuri who picked up the win by applying a rotating leg hold onto Hasegawa to give herself the win. So, not bad for Yuri. Next up, we got Tyson Maeguchi to take on Yatsu Urano. A very interesting matchup. I mean, there was a lot of bit of the kickboxing style that Maeguchi did on this, but however, that did not work in his favor. It ended with, of course, with Urano pulling a schoolboy roll up on him, and boom, 1, 2, 3, it was over right from there. So it was over, baby. Now our next match is an elimination 6-man tag match. Team number 1 features Yumehiro Inamari, Kusuke Ishii, and Shinichiro Tominaga. They take on Takuya Wada, Shuichiro Katsumata, and Miyuki Takase. So basically, as you know, the storyline of this one, as you know, Miyuki Takase is the current top champion of Ganbare Pro. He is, in fact, the Spirit of Ganbare Openweight champion. So he will be in a match against Tominaga. And it was a very interesting matchup. So this is exactly the order how each of the competitors were eliminated. Katsumata eliminated Yumehito. Hold on. Yumehito with a ring out. Wada and Ishii were double ring out, which sucks. Tominaga eliminated Katsumata with the ring out, and then finally Tominaga eliminated Wadase with the double arm lock. So basically, this is only round one for them in this one. So basically, we'll be seeing there'll be a series of matches between Wadase and Tominaga. Like I said before, Tominaga is the present challenger for the Spirit of Ganbare Pro Championship. Will be happening soon. I think that's pretty much it for this one with Grindhouse. I think it's time for the next show, Moonrise Kingdom. Okay, so we continue more with Ganbare Pro. This is show number 2 that took place also on the 23rd of February. This one's called Moonrise Kingdom. Once again, it's 4 matches as like the last and previous one. So let's see what we have. Our opening match, we have Munetatsu Nakamura taking on Yasu Urano. Thought it was a very solid opener, nothing too big. As you know, Kabura, as I mentioned before, he is still on a learning curve since he is a young boy. That's how I see it. But it took only a cross-arm thunder fire power bomb by Urano to put away Nakamura to give him the W. So very powerful power bomb and a good win. Next up, the Yoshi girls take, of course, the center stage. We have Yuri taking on none other than Color's very own Rina Mikura. I thought this match was pretty good because, you know, I've always often talked about how, you know, her being a powerhouse for not only for Colors, but align herself with the Cosmic Angels is a good thing. We have seen how much of a powerhouse she's been, and that thing that really played off. You probably thought there was no way that Yuri would have kicked out, or there's a miracle for her to do that. But however, that wasn't the case. Rina Mikura picked up the win by applying the double Armin Buster, and that was it. Next up is a very interesting elimination match. This one's called the Secret Captain Fall Elimination Match, 6-man tag team match. Now, the reason it's called this way is because nobody knows who the captain is. So I will say who it was. Team number 1, we have Mohika Aruhi, Shinichiro Tominaga, and Ken Oka taking on Arukaze, Yumehito Inamari, and Miyuki Takase. Now, the captains involved in this particular match is once again Tominaga and Miyuki. So basically, here's how it goes down. If you pin the captain, the match is over just like that. But however, I thought it was going to end quickly because of one of them would be pinned. It did not happen that way. This is how the elimination match went down. It went, of course, with Arukaze eliminating Oka with the ring out. Then, of course, she got eliminated by Tominaga by a ring out as well. Excuse me. And, of course, Aruhi actually eliminated Inamari also in a ring out. Wadase eliminated Aruhi in a ring out too. However, the 2 captains remain, Tominaga and Wadase. I thought this match was going to be good, how it's going to end, because, you know, these 2 are going to be facing off later on for those titles, for the title that Wadase has. But it ended with a TKO with a Wadase style front neck lock, and boom, it was over just like that. I was surprised that, of course, the thing is Tominaga will be the one to dethrone Wadase. I don't know. We will see. Because right now, the way I see it, Wadase is the 4th title holder of this belt. So we'll see if we will get a 5th. Now, our main event, we have Shota teaming up with Chuichiro Katsumata taking on Soma Takoa and Kusuke Ishii. I thought this match continues on with the bit of the feud between both Shota and Takoa. As you know, they were tag team partners. But however, in this particular match, it was, of course, Takoa with the official official bald waltz um, on Shota to pick up the win. However, in the post match, apparently they still want to continue to fight each other. But however, Shota decided that he wants to reunite Romance Dawn for one particular reason. I reported this not too long about a year last year about how Ganbare Pro has announced for brand new tag team titles. So this was something that was definitely needed. Now, if I was a betting man, I would say Romance Dawn is the most logical choice because these guys have been an established tag team in Ganbare Pro since day one. Well, Ganbare Pro has been around longer, but I mean, they've been together since last year, and I feel like they are the most logical choice. But we will see what happens then between those two. And I think that's pretty much it with this particular show with Ganbare Pro. So let's move on to show number 3. Okay, this is day show number 3 of Ganbare Pro Wrestling on the 23rd of February. This one is called the Ganbare Pro Wrestling Players Association Performance. Our opening match is tag team match, and we got Kentaro Hashisu teaming up with Moika Haruhi taking on Arukaze and Yumihito Inamare. Now, if you guys aren't familiarized with this guy, um, Ashizu is originally from PPP Tokyo. Now, he has participated in a Ganbare Young Cup, the Ganbare Young Ganbare Cup. He competed in the first round but lost to Inamari, and I thought this could be a nice continuation between those two. But there was a moment he actually freaked the hell out of Arukaze. You would have thought she would have been freaking out because the way he dressed. But in this case, it was, of course, Inamari who picked up the win onto Ashizu with the Lou D's press. I don't know. That's the move that it's been that I heard about that he's been using. I thought it was a very interesting way to pick up the win, and he won. Next up, we got this was a very interesting thing. We have Chonchito showed up. Now he was originally it was supposed to be put in a Hong Kong international policeman. He was nowhere to be found, so Chonchito showed up in its place instead. So he was going to be facing against Hong Kong domestic policewoman portrayed by Yoshiko Hasegawa versus Hong Kong international policewoman portrayed by Yuri. However, at some point during the match, Chonchito felt like he was being ignored by none other than international and domestic. But out of the blue, here comes Hong Kong international policeman out of nowhere, planting evidence on both the international policewoman and domestic policewoman. So that kind of went into a little tailspin. But however, these ladies took out policeman and put him in handcuffs to win the match. So it was over. So you put the book. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the whole the Mountaineer and the Big Boss Man, but much funnier. Next up, we have a very interesting tag match. We have Ken Oka teaming up with Shota, taking on Kusuke Ishii and Chichiro Tominaga. Now, this was the most bizarre match. Don't get me wrong, the in-ring work was great, but the outcome was weird in some aspects. This match ended in a double countout after 10 minutes and 20 seconds. And of course, that's how the ref called it. But however, they made, since Ken Oka is the boss, he made an executive decision, restart the match. So now you probably would have thought, like any other time when we hear the word restart, we should have a winner. I don't know what the heck was this about. And did the same thing again, double count out in 10 minutes and 20 seconds. What kind of bizarre way this ended? Now, I would have assumed since Ken Oka is the boss, he probably would have asked for a restart, but however, I don't think that was the case due to the fact that they need to end the timing as soon as possible. But basically, there was no winner or loser in this particular match, so you can say it's BS as much as you want, but I feel you. Now, our main event, we have a 6-person tag match. We have Manatatsu Nakamura, Tyson Maguchi, and finally Junichiro Tominaga taking on Yuki Renza, Takuya Wada, and Miyuki Takase. Now, keep in mind, as I mentioned before, Tominaga and Wadase are now fighting for the Spirit of Ganbare Openweight Championship, which Wadase currently has. Now, you probably remember Tominaga does have an upper hand against him already in the first 2 shows, but will he do it a third one? No. However, that wasn't the case because Wadase actually picked up the win for his team when he applied the vertical drop brain buster onto onto Nakamura, giving him the win. So sooner or later we will see now the focus and the intention between Tominaga and Wadase to see who will walk out as the winner for that title. And I think that's pretty much it for the Ganbare Pro. I'm done with all 3 shows, so let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling CMLL Fantastica Mania 2023 with day 2. This was also on a Thursday on the 23rd of February. Now, our opening match, we have Reiko Meta teaming up with Yuto Nakashima to take on the members of just 4 guys, Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Doiki. Now, keep in mind, just 4 guys just picked up a good win yesterday. Not the best win, to be honest with you. But in this case, how will this differ from the previous show? Well, in this case, you would have assumed it would also fall in their favor. Now, the reason is the X factor of this match. Reiko Meta is teaming up with a young lion, basically still on a learning curve on this one. So you would have assumed this was going to fall. But however, Reiko Meta thought he had this match won, but it was, of course, with a roll by Kanemaru to pick up the win. I'm sure Reiko Meta will never forget this loss, but sooner or later they will come across paths again, some point down the line. Next up, another tag team match. We got Capitan Suicida with Rohi Oiwa taking on the members of Bullet Club, Geto and Taiji Shimori. Now, again, X factor of this match. Capitan Suicida is teaming with Oiwa, who is also a young lion, also on the learning curve. So X factor, he could be the one to lose. Unfortunately, that's how it happened because apparently, as you know, Ishimori, he knows what he's doing. He's the veteran in this whole thing. He put Oiwa in the crossface, forcing him to tap out. Next up, we got El Hijo de Villano III, Okumura, and El Barbario Cabanero taking on Tiger Mask, Master Wato, Dulce Gardenia. Now, as you know, there was a little mix. The change-ups of the matches that's different. Last time, of course, Okumura, Villano III, and what's his name, Barbaro were in the same team on the previous day. However, their opponents is different. Basically, Dulce Gardenia had dealt with these 2 guys before. This time, he teams up with Wato and Tiger Mask. Now, you probably thought there would be some interesting changes, maybe a different strategy for Dulce Gardenia to pick up the win. However, Villano III, who's a despicable person, removed Tiger Mask's mask in order to pick up the win onto him, and he applied the inside cradle, giving him the win. I'm sure Tiger Mask will not forget what Villano III did. Next up, we got Kosef Fujita, Yo, Ryosuke Taguchi, and Soberano Jr. taking on the members of LIJ, consisting of Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, Tetsuya Naito, and of course, we cannot forget the Titan, who of course is leading the pack. Now, some of you saying, I thought Naito's the leader. Well, he is, but this is of course Titan's show as well for him. Now, you probably thought in the same results like last time. Basically, there is a bit of a rivalry between both Soberano and Titan. Soberano wants something that Titan has. He has a championship, but it was in Titan who picked up the win when he applied El Inmortal onto, I believe he did that onto Fujita, giving him the win. And once again, Naito had a little fun with Taguchi taking off his mask to show how dumb he really is. So that's how it plays out. Now our next match, we have Sho teaming up with Magia Blanca and Hichisero taking on El Desperado, the Ace Hiroshi Tanahashi, and of course veteran and CMLL Ultimo Guerrero. It's great to see. And you know, the funny thing is, what I noticed about Despy, he's more open with Tanahashi. Now, in the past, as you remember, he was part of Suzuki-gun. Those guys will beat up anybody. But he seems more open now with Tanahashi, now that Suzuki-gun is no more. But, of course, he was happy to team up with Ultimo Guerrero because, you know, he might have learned a lot of few things about him or studied him, however that may be. But, in this case, in this match, it was the high five flow by Tanahashi that picked up the win on Hichisero. 1, 2, 3. It was over right from there. Now our main event, we have Templario teaming up with Atlantis Jr. to take on Volador Jr. and Mystico. Now keep in mind, Mystico have already won the previous matches. Partners were different, but nothing too fancy, but a lot of high spots. But in this case, it was a powerbomb backbreaker by Templario to Mystico that picked up was it Mystico? No, to Volador Jr. to pick up a good win. So real good. Not gonna lie about that. Now keep in mind, there's still more of these shows with New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL with Fantastica Mania. That'll be on the next episode. But right now, let's move on to our final review, which is Impact Wrestling. Okay, Impact Wrestling. I have to say, very interesting matches and storylines they build up. Our opening match is Mike Bailey teaming up with Jonathan Gresham to take on Motor City Machine Guns. Now, keep in mind, Gresham and Bailey do have a match in No Surrender against each other, which is going to be great. However, the Motor Machine Guns need to be 100% since they will be in a 6-man tag match with their Time Machine buddy, Kushida. The match was pretty good. I have to say, great moments. A lot of technical aspect by Gresham, a lot of cohesiveness between both the guns. But however, you probably thought in the X Factor, there's no way Bailey and Gresham can coexist. Somehow he was able to coexist until sooner or later it was the dirt bomb by the guns onto Gresham to pick up the win, and of course it was Saban who picked up the pinfall. So great match. I think it was one of the most funnest matches ever. Now, Deonna Purrazzo, as you know, she has her recent dealings with Giselle Shaw. Giselle Shaw is making a habit of saying that she takes responsibility for Chelsea Green leaving. And of course, Deonna Purrazzo will not take that kindly, not to mention she's like saying, I am the best technical wrestler ever and all that. I mean, she's not wrong. I mean, she has been a very fighting champion since then. But however, Giselle Shaw is stepping on everybody's toes. That includes on any partner she teams up with. Now, our next match is a beat the clock match. Now, whoever wins this match between Tommy Dreamer and Bully Ray will speak up first. Tommy Dreamer faces Jason Hodge. The match went with a DVD and ended with 1 minute and 13 seconds. So that means we'll see how Bully Ray actually pulled it off. Now, next, we see a little meet and greet with Joe Hendry, meeting the fans and all that. And, of course, he's telling the fans who's going to walk out no surrender, Moose or Joe Hendry. And, of course, everybody voted. Say his name and he'll appear. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. So everybody was singing to that song. And I thought it was great. So we'll see what happens in No Surrender. Now, our next match, we have Tail Valkyrie being accompanied by Death Dolls, consisting of Jessica and Rosemary. They take on one half of the Hex, Allison Kay, while Marty Bell's on the other side. Now, much of the X Factor, you can tell that Marty Bell will do anything to ensure that this match falls into favor with Allison Kay. But however, of course, anything went down with Marty Bell to get involved. But however, that wasn't enough until Allison Kay applied the AK-47 onto Tail Valkyrie to pick up the win. So the obvious thing does remain. Will the Hex be the next team to dethrone the Death Dolls of their tag titles? Well, we'll find out soon enough until we get there. Now, we did witness a contract signing between both Swan and Alexander. Now, after what happened last week with Swan accidentally kicking Alexander, things are seem like good. However, once again, Steve Maclin's trying to get it into the head of Swan, telling him that he doesn't care who will walk out as the Impact Wrestling World Champ, because he will be the one to take it either from them. But it seems that this feud between Swan and Maclin will never end. Now, our next match, we have Diener teaming up with Sami Callihan to take on Yuya Uemura and Frankie Kazarian. However, this was a very interesting matchup. However, as you know, we've been seeing the developments of Sami Callihan since he decided to accept the design. But near the end, when Diener was about to tag himself inside, he pulled away and allowed himself to let Callihan to take the fall. Now, basically, he ended up in the wrong side of the crossface chicken wing by Frankie Kazarian. But in the back, of course, Callihan wanted to know about why would he do this. He said, step 5, loyalty. So basically, he's being now questioned where his loyalty lies. So that is a very strong motivator, to be honest with you. And I think it tells us a good story. Keep in mind, those are questioning, is Sami Callihan really playing coy, or is he really accepting the design? We don't know. Now, our next match is another Beat the Clock challenge. We have Bully Ray against Bhupender Gurja. Now, you know how despicable Bully Ray can be. He used Jason Hodge in order to pick up the win, distract the ref, and he knocked out Gurja with the chain and won the match with less than 1 minute. I think that's like 45 seconds. And of course, Gurja was not happy. He felt that he let Tommy Dreamer down. But in this case, Tommy Dreamer gave him some words of wisdom, saying, look, you get knocked down, you get back up. You learn from it. You learn from it. You learn from this experience. Yes, I saw what Bully Ray did. He cheated. Learn that too. You'll be full of greatness. And he tells him that I know, and everybody in the audience knows, that he is destined for greatness. All he needs to do is prove that to himself. So basically, wise words from Tommy Dreamer to Gurja. Now, our main event is, of course, the X Division title in a Monsters Balls match. This falls into the wheelhouse of Crazy Steve, since his old friend, The Abyss, created it. And, of course, I thought it was so insane using thumbtacks. And not to mention, we saw a familiar object that we haven't seen for quite some time. And we're talking about Janice. That 2x4 with nails all over. We haven't seen that for a long time with The Abyss. But however, it was, of course, Trey Miguel with a corkscrew maneuver onto Crazy Steve into a board of barbed wires, putting him down. However, was that enough for Trey Miguel to pick up the win? Possibly. But however, how traumatized will Trey Miguel be after this match, knowing that he went to the most absolute hell he's ever been in? We'll just find out either next week or in No Surrender. Till then, I think that's pretty much it with our reviews. Let's move on to our final thing, news updates. Okay, to our news updates. You may have heard this has been coming out. It's been now not 100% confirmed, but now it's been saying it's going to happen. Forbidden Door 2. Now, if you remember completely, that show was a huge success. So we're going to see more collaboration between AEW and New Japan, and they picked the date will be on the 24th of June. Now, we don't know yet who will participate. Now, there is one question I am going to say. Will this time we will see Stardom wrestlers participate? Now, last year they couldn't participate due to the fact of their scheduling. So basically, on that particular day, on the first show, they had another event happening. Hopefully, this can be planned out very well. We know that the president of New Japan has talked about this, saying never say never. I know many fans want to see this. We still don't know who will be coming from New Japan to participate in Forbidden Door. So we will see when that day comes. Now, if you guys recall, recently we saw a little segment with MJF and Bryan Danielson. Now, he talked about his fiance, or should I say his now ex-fiance. So he talked about her, saying that she left him. Now, it's now been confirmed by Fightful Select that yes, their engagement is off. All we can do is say good luck with them in their success or whatever they're gonna do. As you guys know, Naomi, who is MJ's ex-fiance, is an artist. She did tweeted this out about her artwork that involves MJF. So she's saying this will be the last produced ones that she's done, and there will be no more of these types. So that basically you got to buy them now. There's still no specific reasons why they called it off, but hopefully one day we can see it. I mean, there's still some unanswered questions, something like this, before we are asked ourselves what really happened between Sammy and Pam, because that's something that happened with them 2 years ago, but we just don't know what's the specifics on this one. Wrestling Observer reports that Jeff Hardy, his license has been suspended for the next 10 years due to the fact that the DUI case is now closed. However, Matt Hardy is saying that he is currently in a good place. He's getting better at it for the last 9 months. All we can do is pray that he does stay that way and he can be back into the ring. That's something hopefully we can expect from him down the line. Our next thing as you know, there's been talk about Cameron Grimes. There was speculations that we could see him be in the main roster. However, it's also been reported by Wrestling Observer saying that Cameron Grimes is waiting on the creative plans for him for his main roster debut. We don't know exactly what it is. We don't know how long he's going to be like this. I'm sure it's going to be a major pain in the butt waiting for that. So we'll see. West Coast Pro has made another huge announcement. As you know, on May 13th, we have the first ever Queen of the Indies. We already announced several women, and I mentioned Unagi Sayaka. She's Shigazo Nagoya, and of course now representing Marvelous, she will be there too. Takumi Iroha, she will be there too. So this is going to be good seeing her there. Now, recently, if you guys remember completely, I have been talking about Kota Ibushi on the news updates since he went free agency. He's been in constant communications with a Twitter group known as Dark Puroresu Flowsion. Now, he did specify exactly what his plans are if he got signed with either WWE or AEW. Now, apparently, Dark Puroresu Flowsion did mention on a Twitter that there is a third promotion that are eager to sign Kota Ibushi. However, he's not allowed to give the details what promotion could be. All he can say is that whoever they are, they're going to be very aggressive to trying to sign him. Now, we don't know who could that be. Who is promotion? Many fans are speculating possibly Pro Wrestling Noah. I mean, that would be a good selection, but we just don't know. I mean, WWE, I know they have an interest in him. So is AEW. We just don't know who the third promotion is. So we'll just got to wait and see what Kota Ibushi will do next. Our final update, we have the GCW stuff. For the Indie Hall of Fame, they announced cheerleader Melissa will be inducted as the second inductee the in the Hall of Fame. However, Dave Prazak will be inducting her, so that's pretty cool. For the Red Means Green, a show that's taking place on the 14th of April, they announced, I don't know who this guy is, named Billy Rock, will be making his debut. Now, they announced the name of two shows that will be taking place on both the Atlanta, Georgia show on the 21st and the Orlando show in Florida on the 22nd of April. For the Atlanta show, they're calling it Into the Light. No specific yet on who will participate, but I'm sure once we get closer and closer, we will find out. And as for the Orlando show that will take place on the 22nd of April, they're calling it Scene of the Crime. And as I mentioned once before, this will be the first show in 6 years, 5 or 6 years that they've been there. So pretty cool to hear. And I think that's pretty much it, what we have for our news updates. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Okay. Hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we still got more with New Japan Pro Wrestling with the CMLL Fantastica Mania. I'm so excited to see how things are going to go. And of course, we have AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. However, I haven't decided if I'm going to be throwing another show to review right in front of it. That is still undecided. If not, then I'll just leave it with those three. But I also decided I'm going to be doing a discussion episode by itself featuring none other than Jungle Kiona. As you guys been hearing, Jungle Kiona is having trouble with her knees. There's a lot of things that we're going to be talking about. So stand by on that particular episode of DWZ Discussions with Jungle Kiona, and we'll go from there. So for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.